An episode about an expecting father, voiced by Daisuke Namikawa. Well, I'm sure this won't have any uncomfortable real-world applications. Nope, none at all. None at all. But yeah, the Precure's homeroom teacher, Uchifuji, was getting ready for the arrival of his newborn. He ended up shopping at the store of Hana's Titan Daddy. Good gravy, this guy is huge. Anyway, the teacher was stressing out over the arrival of his new kid. Waver, we all know you want to be a good waifu to Iskandar, but I think you should take this one step at a time. Still, he wasn't confident in his abilities as a parent, so he did the most logical thing and asked Mr. Nono if he could train under him. He didn't think to take classes from actual trained professionals and just decided to get free lessons from the parent of one of his students. Yeah, this guy has a bright future in front of him. As a result, the Precure ended up splitting up the next day, with the original trio taking care of Mrs. Uchifuji and the Six Rangers covering for them at the Beauty Harry. I think this is one of the first times I've ever seen a running gag lead to severe mental trauma. I'm just surprised that Harry broke down before Zura ever did. Uchifuji's lessons towards fatherhood began, though he ran into a little distraction from a wannabe YouTuber. Apparently, Charlie won first dibs on some new swag for his channel. This is what happens when everyone starts doing unboxing videos. It becomes a serious competition. Anyway, he ended up working at the store too in exchange for the early access. And it turns out to be Mr. Nono's lucky day, as he got one more employee that he didn't have to pay in the form of Harry after he gets into a competition with Charlie, completely ignoring his own business and the magic baby he has to take care of. Been a while since we've seen Kuzma on the show. Kinda missed him. Still, this did end up giving Uchifuji the opportunity to embrace an infant for the first time, which he utterly failed at, and ended up passing Hakutan on to Charlie, who made for a surprisingly good father. Uchifuji did eventually start to grasp this whole fatherhood thing after finally calming down, and had a nice little exchange with Mr. Nono, who had revealed that his working at the store that day was basically a Mr. Miyabi lesson, in that he taught him the skills needed for parenting indirectly. And it couldn't have come at a better time, as his wife was going into labor. Everyone met at the hospital, and Mrs. Uchifuji safely gave birth after one of the most awkward scenes in all of Precure. Wait, when did I start wearing a watch? Shh. Sorry. So, after a scene that I'm sure a lot of parents across Japan muted their televisions over, the little Uchifuji was born, bringing tears to his father. Also, through the experience of helping the missus, Saya seemed to gain a rather sudden interest in pediatrics. I mean, not to denounce the profession or anything, my sister recently became one herself, but is this what Saya's whole arc is building towards after all the actor stuff? I kind of hope not. Anyway, before we have time to think about that, Dr. Tron makes his return after a few episodes. Using a disgruntled UPS worker, in other words, an average UPS worker, he created a traffic code monster. The Precure engaged it, but Saya felt it necessary to remind everyone to be quiet around the hospital, lead to, ironically, one of the best fights of the season. ちなみにそのドリル本当は回転するのね。でも音が大きくなるから今日は回転なし。Okay, I'll admit, I love this fight mostly because it reminds me of a Mickey Mouse cartoon. And yet, they let the Six Rangers get their fair share in. I mean, I get that the Trinity concert isn't quiet, but it probably would make less noise than the guitars. Yeah, that one was totally your guys' fault. After the fight, the doctor revealed why he complied with the Precure's request. Apparently, he too understood what it meant to be a parent, as he was the original creator of the RUR 9500 series. With that, the episode ends with our heroines taking a picture with the happy new family. I'll be perfectly honest, I don't know how I feel about this one. It really is mostly just middle-of-the-road filler with only very minor developments and reveals. pretty much like the majority of Mitsutaka Hirota's writing this season. Now, it did have some good moments, like some witty dialogue from Ruru that I didn't bring up because I thought it was too funny to spoil. Likewise, the reveal of Dr. Tron being Ruru's creator is a logical and interesting development that could make for some great conflicts on down the line. That said, there were also a lot of slow, protracted scenes. While I don't dislike Uchifuji and respect his journey to become a good father, he honestly wasn't that interesting of a character, just a worrywart who really should have just bought some parenting books if he didn't have time to take classes. And this might just be me, but the childbirth scene felt needlessly realistic and really should have been cut down. Granted, I will admit it's well directed and atmospheric, and I get that the miracle of life is great and everything, but let's try and not make things awkward. Also, again, I do hope I'm overthinking things and Saya isn't just going to do a sudden job change to pediatrics. Now, if this inspires her to take up a role in a Japanese Grey's Anatomy, then that would actually be a good development, and would connect back to that scene of Saya's mother learning how to cook for her own show. Regardless, I really don't feel like being too judgmental on a late 20s filler episode, so for this one, I think I'll just say... Last week, since Hakuto took the week off, I took advantage and posted up the first part of my Smile Precure review, so go check it out if you haven't seen it already. It's a lengthy one where we go over one of the most memeable seasons of the franchise ever. Part 2 is on the way, but I think I'll do something else in between. You'll see what it is in the oncoming weeks. And until then though, farewell for now my friend. Shh. Sorry again.